The year is 2002, a year marked by significant events around the globe, but for the passengers of China Airlines Flight 611, it was just another day. On a seemingly ordinary spring day, May 25th, the skies were clear, and the air was filled with the promise of a smooth journey. China Airlines Flight 611, a Boeing 747-200B, prepared for departure from Chiang Kai-shek International Airport in Taipei, Taiwan. The aircraft, a majestic symbol of human engineering, stood ready to bridge the distance between Taipei and Hong Kong. Its destination, Hong Kong International Airport, a bustling hub of activity and a gateway to the world. On board were 206 passengers and 19 crew members, all looking forward to reaching their destination. Each passenger carried their own stories, dreams, and aspirations. Among them were families going on holiday, eager children with their faces pressed against the windows, excited to see the world from above. Business travelers embarking on important trips, their minds occupied with meetings and deals, and individuals returning home, anticipating the warm embrace of loved ones. At 15:08 local time, the Boeing 747-200B, under the command of Captain Ching-Fong Yi, received clearance for takeoff. The engines roared to life, and the aircraft began its journey down the runway. The weather was clear, the skies were blue, and the conditions were perfect for flying. It seemed like the ideal day for a flight. There was no indication of the tragedy that was about to unfold. The passengers and crew were blissfully unaware of the silent danger that lurked within the aircraft. The aircraft lifted gracefully into the air, beginning its journey over the Taiwan Strait. The ascent was smooth and the passengers settled in for what they believed would be an uneventful flight. For the first 20 minutes, Flight 611 proceeded routinely, climbing to its cruising altitude of 35,000 feet. The flight attendants began their service, and the passengers relaxed, some reading, others watching the in-flight entertainment. Air traffic controllers monitored its progress, their screens displaying the blip that represented the aircraft as it moved steadily across the radar. Everything seemed normal, a routine flight on a clear day. Passengers settled into their seats, unaware of the silent threat lurking within the very structure of the aircraft. Conversations flowed, laughter echoed, and the hum of the engines provided a comforting background noise. The flight seemed routine, another day in the sky. The aircraft cruised smoothly, and the journey appeared to be progressing without any issues. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. Unbeknownst to everyone on board, a hidden flaw within the aircraft's structure was about to reveal itself, setting the stage for an unforeseen disaster. High above the Taiwan Strait, the calm of the flight was shattered. The passengers, unaware of the impending disaster, were likely settling into their seats, perhaps enjoying a meal or a movie. The crew, experienced and professional, were performing their routine checks, ensuring everything was in order for the journey ahead. It was a day like any other, with clear skies and no indication of trouble. At 15:28 local time, just 20 minutes after it had taken off, Flight 611 abruptly vanished from radar screens. One moment it was there, a steady blip moving across the screen, and the next, it was gone. The sudden disappearance was both shocking and baffling, leaving air traffic controllers scrambling for answers. The unexpected disappearance sent shockwaves through air traffic control in Taipei. Controllers trained to handle emergencies were suddenly faced with a situation that defied explanation. They quickly checked their equipment, hoping it was a technical glitch, but everything was functioning perfectly. The reality began to sink in. Flight 611 was missing. Controllers desperately tried to re-establish contact with the aircraft, their calls met with an eerie silence. Each passing second felt like an eternity as they repeated their attempts, hoping for any sign of life from the other end. The silence was deafening, a stark contrast to the usual hum of communication in the control room. The sudden loss of communication and the aircraft's disappearance triggered an immediate emergency response. Protocols were activated, and emergency teams were mobilized. The priority was clear: find Flight 611 and ensure the safety of everyone on board. The clock was ticking, and every moment was crucial. Taiwanese authorities launched a full-scale search and rescue operation, dispatching ships and aircraft to the plane's last known location. The search area was vast, covering miles of open ocean, and the task ahead was daunting. Rescue teams were prepared for the worst but hoped for the best, knowing that time was of the essence. Hope mingled with fear as rescuers prayed for a miracle, clinging to the possibility that the aircraft had made an emergency landing. They scanned the horizon, looking for any sign of wreckage or survivors. The vast expanse of the ocean seemed endless, and the chances of finding the plane grew slimmer with each passing hour. News of the missing flight spread like wildfire, sending shock waves through Taiwan and Hong Kong. The media quickly picked up the story, and soon it was being broadcast on every channel. People were glued to their screens, anxiously awaiting updates. The disappearance of Flight 611 had become a national crisis, and everyone was desperate for answers. Families of those on board anxiously awaited news, their hopes dwindling with each passing hour. The airport was filled with the sound of sobs and whispered prayers as loved ones clung to each other for support. The uncertainty was unbearable, and the wait for information seemed endless. Every phone call, every announcement brought a mix of hope and dread. The world watched with bated breath, desperate for any information about the fate of Flight 611. International news outlets covered the story extensively, and social media was abuzz with speculation and concern. The disappearance had captured global attention, and people from all corners of the world were united in their hope for a positive outcome. What had caused this seemingly routine flight to disappear into thin air? Theories and rumors began to circulate, but the truth remained elusive. As the search continued, one question lingered in everyone's mind: would Flight 611 ever be found? As the search for the missing aircraft intensified, speculation ran rampant. The world watched with bated breath, hoping for answers but fearing the worst. Families of the passengers clung to hope, while the media buzzed with theories and conjectures. Given the geopolitical climate, terrorism quickly emerged as a possible explanation. The heightened state of global alertness made it a plausible scenario, and many were quick to draw parallels with past incidents. The horrific events of September 11, 2001, were still fresh in everyone's minds, casting a long shadow over the investigation. The memories of that tragic day had left an indelible mark on the collective consciousness, making any unexplained aviation disaster a potential act of terror. However, investigators, determined to uncover the truth, meticulously examined every piece of evidence. They left no stone unturned, employing the latest forensic techniques and technologies to analyze the wreckage. They scoured the seas for debris, hoping to find clues that would shed light on the cause of the disaster. The search was exhaustive, involving numerous ships, aircraft, and specialized underwater equipment. As pieces of the wreckage were recovered, including personal belongings and parts of the aircraft's fuselage, they were carefully analyzed. Each item was cataloged and scrutinized for any signs of foul play or mechanical failure. The investigation team, which included experts from Taiwan, the United States, and Boeing, worked tirelessly to piece together the puzzle. Their collaboration was crucial, bringing together a wealth of knowledge and experience from different fields. They reviewed air traffic control recordings, scrutinized weather reports, and analyzed the recovered debris. Every aspect of the flight was examined, from the pilot's last communications to the weather conditions at the time of the crash. However, the evidence did not support the initial theory of a terrorist attack. Despite the initial fears and suspicions, the data pointed in a different direction. There were no signs of explosives, no claims of responsibility, and no intelligence to suggest that Flight 611 was a target. The absence of these critical indicators led investigators to rule out terrorism as the cause of the disaster, shifting their focus to other potential explanations. Silent witnesses. The black boxes offer no explanation. The recovery of the aircraft's black boxes, the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder, offered a glimmer of hope. These devices, designed to withstand extreme impacts, held crucial information that could unlock the mystery of Flight 611. The flight data recorder, which records technical information about the flight, such as altitude, speed, and heading, was retrieved from the seabed. The cockpit voice recorder, responsible for recording conversations and sounds in the cockpit, was also located. Investigators hoped that these recordings would provide vital clues about the events leading up to the disaster. However, to their dismay, the black boxes revealed no clear explanation for the disaster. While the data confirmed that the flight had proceeded normally until the moment it disappeared from radar, there were no distress calls or any indication of mechanical problems. The recordings ended abruptly, as if the plane had simply vanished into thin air. Unraveling the mystery signs point to a catastrophic failure. With terrorism ruled out and the black boxes yielding no definitive answers, investigators shifted their focus to other possibilities. They began to suspect that a catastrophic structural failure possibly caused by a mid-air breakup was the most likely explanation for the disaster. The recovery of debris scattered over a wide area of the Taiwan Strait further supported this theory. The pattern of the wreckage, with pieces of the aircraft found miles apart, suggested that the plane had broken apart in flight rather than upon impact with the water. Furthermore, analysis of the recovered debris revealed telltale signs of a high-altitude breakup. The metal fragments showed evidence of fatigue and stress, indicating that the aircraft had suffered a sudden and catastrophic failure while at cruising altitude.